This stage is useful for the kind of socially clueless family member. The kind of family members this would work with. And what you'll find is if used appropriately, you would have managed to nip it in the bud early, and they'll usually back off quickly once they realise. It's all a bit awkward. Alright, let's talk about one of the most persistent and frankly one of the most annoying problems my patients bring up. Family members who think your body is a football match. Commentating on it like crazy. This is not a book club. Your feedback on someone's body is not needed. Sheesh. Family. Let's break it down. People often worry. They think highlighting an issue with their family suggests some kind of ungratefulness or implies they think their family doesn't love them. Not necessarily. In fact, this very way of thinking can be a pretty dangerous mindset to have because it often means that issues families have with communication, often deep-seated, many of them blindingly obvious, don't even get reviewed, let alone talked about and solved. My name's Chuks, award-winning psychiatry doctor and best-selling author with a special interest in eating disorders. Listen, both can exist at the same time. Love and psychological harm. They can coexist. You may love your family, they may love you back, but still things can be said which aren't good or hurtful or deeply affect you negatively. It's not uncommon for people to experience both the uplifting words and the most wounding words from their family. And talking about body and weight is just one of the ways in which this can happen. I won't even begin to tell you some of the stuff I've heard some of my patients' family members say. It's bad. Trust me, bad. But Dr. Chuks, we just say what needs to be said, we're family. Or, come on, it's not even that bad, it's a tough world out there and they need to know how to toughen up. Or how about, here we go, another doctor family bashing. Look, I've worked with countless families and know there are many different factors which feed into why families communicate the way they do. I also know it can be really hard for family and friends. In fact, I wrote a piece in the LANCET Child and Adolescent Health where I highlight just how challenging it can be for parents and family of a loved one with body and eating issues. It's worth a read. I'll put a link in below so you can check it out. But as a doctor who looks after those with body and eating issues, it's important for me to be really, really clear. The body is not a family project. We need to address this. You guys have been telling me that you often get stumped about what to say in response to overeager family members. That one auntie that before she's even said hello has already commented on your body weight. Or that parent who keeps referencing your body whenever you pick up a piece of food to eat, opening up layers and layers of shame. Or that grandparent who compares your body incessantly to the people of those around you. Okay, so what do you actually say? Because insight's nice, but it's probably more useful to have ideas of what to say, right? And I know this can be stressful for you guys. So I've come up with a very simple 4-tiered approach to tackling this to stop family commenting on your body and your weight, based on my own work with patients and families over the years and their thoughts, analysis, and countless amounts of feedback. It's called the Body Response Ladder. The 4 L's. So it has 4 levels of intensity, starting with level 1, light. So say you're at the receiving end of an inappropriate comment from family linked to your weight. Let's say it's subtle, maybe a sibling who thinks they're being funny. Going for seconds already? The kind of food policing that often happens in families. Or how about, you filled out a bit? Or maybe, last time I saw you, you were smaller. Kind of those backhanded observations. Or how about, eat more, you're too thin. And then later the very same day, careful, that's a lot. That contradictory chaos which happens so much in families. More than 1/3 of young women and nearly 1/4 of young men reported receiving hurtful weight-related comments from family members. Now, tone is important because all these examples could be said in a tone that's meant to be malicious. But at level 1, they're not normally trying to hurt you. They just have zero filter or outdated beliefs. Light is the low confrontation stage. The aim of this level is to redirect energy. Maybe even with a humorous response, but keep it light. Auntie, today is celebration, not medical review. Or if my weight has changed, God has done it. This stage is useful for the kind of socially clueless family member. The kind of family members this would work with. And what you'll find is if used appropriately, you would have managed to nip it in the bud early and they'll usually back off quickly once they realise. It's all a bit awkward. Right, the next level, level 2, lesson. Now, you may have received unwanted comments from a family member, followed by a nice little phrase at the end, I'm just worried about you. Now look, and absolutely, this may be the case. They may actually indeed be worried about you, but They may genuinely believe they're helping, but often this can feel like an insult, dressed up in nice clothes. Maybe it's a relative who constantly sends you articles about diets that they think may be good for you. You may have someone who brings up your weight in a concerned tone. Have you thought about your health? We know that weight comments from family and friends, even when intended as helpful or concerned, are associated with higher rates of depression, disordered eating, and low self-esteem. Responding with a lesson, an educational lesson, is often what's required here. I know you care, but weight comments can actually be harmful. Or health isn't something you can tell just by looking. This level works for the well-meaning auntie. Remember, this is about giving new information. That's what they need, not a shutdown. But it's more to the point than level 1. At level 2, if you go too blunt though, they may feel rejected and may even double down. So don't be too blunt. I've definitely seen this happen. Hey guys, Dr Chuks here. I hope you're enjoying today's video. Some of you have highlighted how challenging you sometimes find the holiday period surrounded by friends and family, often having different opinions on your body, food choices and ways of eating. This is one of the reasons I wrote an eating disorder guide for Christmas, 25 ways to survive the 25th to help. I incorporate my years of experience looking after people as a mental health doctor to offer practical and simple advice on how to communicate, boundary set and prioritize. So no matter the circumstance, holiday setting or environment, you deserve to be comfortable in being present within that space. So check out the link in the comments below to grab yourself a copy for you or a friend. Also, make sure you subscribe so you can check out the latest videos when they drop, where I answer your burning questions about body and eating issues. You know what we say here, if it's burning, we're learning. Back to the video. The next level of the body response ladder, level 3, limits. Now, this is where you need to start addressing those family members for whom unsolicited body and weight comments is a pattern, not a one-off. The habitual commentator, the mum and dad who brings it up every visit, the relative who ignores your hints and just keeps going. I know you said you don't like it, but I'm just saying. The person who turns any conversation back to food and weight. Level 3 is where we put clear limits and boundaries in. I'm feeling well, thanks. I'd rather not discuss my body. My doctor and I are happy with my health. Polite, clear, closed. Remember, if you've worked your way up the ladder, hints haven't worked. Humour hasn't worked. Education has been pretty fruitless, so you need clear limits. No wiggle room. In many families we're taught silence is respect and firmness equals disrespect. But clinically, we know silence teaches people your body's open for discussion. Firmness teaches people where the boundary is, not rudeness, firmness. And this is sometimes hard to get the balance right, especially in families where it's not customary to speak your mind, or maybe even seen as disrespectful to tell an older family member, for example, how you feel. But for this level, that's exactly what we need to express our limits. Now, the last level, the last rung on the ladder, level 4, last line. Now, all of you people pleasers may find this one quite tricky because this isn't about communication anymore. This is about enforcement. This level is for the boundary breaker. The brother who keeps commenting on your body after you've already asked them to stop. The aunt who gets defensive or dismissive. Oh, don't be so sensitive. I'm just being honest. The person who escalates. Fine. I just won't say anything at all then. But keeps doing it anyway. They're choosing to ignore your boundaries. So you can respond pretty firmly. Please don't comment on my body again. That topic isn't open for discussion. Calm tone, neutral face. No justification, no apology. Firm and final. And if it continues, say, I'll step away if the comments continue. And then step away. Actually step away. It's crucial that you do this. You have to protect yourself. Different people need different levels of clarity, and some people only understand consequences. Because remember, the most damaging part isn't what your auntie, uncle, brother, grandma, or cousin, or whoever actually says. It's what happens afterwards. The rumination, the mirror checking, the restriction, the binging, the shame spiral. We know around 40% of people say they feel insecure, embarrassed, or humiliated after receiving negative comments about their body. And that's where the real harm happens. Level 4 is the last line and prevents this. So, the full ladder. By the way, don't feel you have to work your way up the rungs of the ladder. That's ideal, not essential. And if you know you have that one uncle who has no understanding of what the word subtlety means, or a parent that just can't take the hint, go straight to a higher level of response if necessary. You know, you wouldn't give paracetamol to someone experiencing severe heart pain, like in a heart attack or a major fracture of the leg. For severe, disabling, life-threatening pain, typically you'll jump to something stronger, more effective, like morphine. This is a very similar premise. Words can harm, and so you need to do whatever is necessary to protect yourself. There we go. I hope that's helped. I really would love to know what rung level has worked out best for you and whether you've had to go all the way to level 4. Write in the comments to let me know, and I'll see you at the next video. Take care, guys, and hold on to hope.